The best Chinese gamepad, only 1 millisecond of delay, innovate sticks on Hall sensors, and in general, best value for the money. This is how almost all gamepad reviewers are leaking FlyDigi Vader 3 Pro, forgetting to mention the drawbacks. So, to correct the injustice, I tested this gamepad, I disassembled this gamepad and made a list of the most important cons. In my opinion, they are enough to avoid buying this device at all. Hi everyone, I'm Anna Punch, and this is my very subjective review of the FlyDigi Vader 3 Pro. The most obvious drawback of FlyDigi is quality control. While it may seem that everything is fine with gamepad from the outside, the whole nature of the device is hiding inside. The first thing that greets us is the strong smell of low-quality plastic. It smells like the cheapest plastic from China. You can smell it even without disassembling the gamepad. But inside, concentration of stench is maximum. The main board was obviously assembled in haphazard manner. There are traces of unwashed flux on every element that is soldered by hand. And this is not a normal. I've never seen such a dirty even in the cheapest Chinese gamepad I've ever disassembled. The only thing I liked here is that the main buttons have external connection on the board. This means that I can easily solder on the measure the input lag with a special device. This is a prototype of a delay meter of Project Gamepad Lab, which makes measurements in all connections modes with an accuracy of 1 millisecond. I will definitely make a special video on my channel about it. FlyDigi's proprietary receiver allows you to connect a gamepad with a 500 Hz polling rate. The company boasts of this even in its FlyDigi Space Station app, which sometimes increases the maximum possible polling rate at this frequency. So you shouldn't trust the measurement of this program. But nevertheless, the gamepad really does register a polling rate about 400 Hz. And usually this is enough frequency to minimize input lag optimally. But nevertheless, even with the high polling rate, the delay of the Vader 3 Pro receiver is almost 4 times higher than the Xbox Series controller, which is capable of delivering only 2 milliseconds of latency over a receiver with a 125 Hz polling rate, while the Vader 3 produces 8 milliseconds, so a high polling rate is not always about a low latency. At best you get 7–8 milliseconds, but only if you get a normal receiver. And this is about the quality control, by the way. During the testing of the gamepad over the receiver, it kept losing connection, sometimes missing button presses, and sometimes disconnection at all. This can throw you off balance, especially if you are focused on the game. And this is at a distance of just over 2 meters, with no visible barriers on the way. I thought I had received a defective receiver, which is not a surprise, because the Vader 2 had a similar story. One identical devices were shipped with receivers of different quality and even shape. By the way, because of such quality control, I despise the FlyDigi brand. But while reading Reddit, I noticed that this problem is mostly complained about by those who connect this receiver directly to the PC case, while owners of USB hubs does not have this problem. Indeed, the connection becomes stable and the disconnect disappears when I connect receiver to USB hub. I started exploring this phenomenon, and during my experiments I found out that the problem was not in USB hub at all. It was in the receiver's antenna. It's very weak inside, and by connecting the receiver to the hub, its cable is able to amplify the signal. The longer the cable, the better signal. And we are not talking about placing receiver closer to gamepad. The receiver can be left in the same place, because the cable acts as an antenna, not an extension cord. Thus, with a long cable, you can play from another room. And with a short cable or without it, we will constantly get connection breaks. And this is a problem. Because firstly, not all users have an extension cord or an USB hub. And secondly, the receiver, for example, from Microsoft, does not have this problem. Therefore, in my opinion, the receiver in Vader 3 is another drawback. I have doubts that the software update will somehow improve the quality of connection. Let's start with the fact that Vader 3 Pro can work via Bluetooth in 2 modes, as an Xbox controller and as a Nintendo Switch. But connecting this controller to X input is a bad idea, because delay in X input is 35 milliseconds. This is a lot. I have only seen worse latency in GuliKit, and only a very unpretentious person will not notice such a delay. And you won't be able to play any action games, shooters or fighting games with such a delays. Which is not surprising, since in X input mode via Bluetooth, the Vader 3 produces 88 Hz of polling rate out of 125 possible. Alternatively, yes, you can connect this gamepad in switch controller mode, which will reduce the delay to 13 milliseconds. However, in this mode the triggers are not analog anymore. Stick movement skipping appears, and the shape of its circle begins to produce a very large error. Vader 3 sticks are based on Hall sensor technology, and this may seem like a great solution at a first impression, because they promise us a complete drift-free experience. But the devil is in the details. The thing is, the FlyDigi Vader 3 sticks are not the same in other Hall gamepads I've seen, like for example 8-bit Do or GuliKit. By the way, they are the same. However, Vader 3 has low-profile K silver sticks, which has one drawback – the internal spring swings. After a while, this internal springs begins to lose stability, and the central axis of the stick becomes loose. And you can probably guess where this leads. That's right, to drifts. Of course, if you don't play with gamepad very often, this nuance may not affect you quickly. But hardcore gamers on Reddit complain about this problem, which becomes noticeable after 3 weeks of active play. That's why Hall sensors sometimes are not better than usual potentiometric sticks. In summary, the Vader 3 Pro has a lot of significant drawbacks that make it unreasonable to buy it. Unlike, for example, manufacturers such as 8-bit Do, FlyDigi is only trying to look like a brand, but in fact it is a classic China with no quality control at all. For this reason, I can't recommend the FlyDigi Vader 3 Pro for purchase, or all FlyDigi products in general. It's better to choose devices from more responsible brands. I will leave links to the Vader 3 sticks and latency tests in the description below the video. The gamepadla.com has already verified results. And if you know of any other drawbacks, please leave comment down below. That's all for today, stay tuned and see you soon!